Okay, welcome everybody. My name is Lori Cohen, and I'm the Executive Director and founder of the Beagle Alliance. Thank you so much for once again attending one of our town halls. Just so everybody knows, they're being recorded, and of course, they will be available probably next week sometime on our website. So, uh, please share. This is going to be a really, really cool. I've been looking forward to this town hall. So, without talking on, welcome Donna Middleton, who is an advanced certified canine nutritionist. I'm going to introduce her at this point. She's going to do a presentation, and then, as per our usual town hall, sort of the way we do things, we will have question and answer afterwards. So thank you, Donna, for being here. Really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Lori, for inviting me. I really appreciate what you and the Beagle Alliance are doing for rescuing the beagles and giving me this opportunity and platform to share a little bit of my knowledge on how there is a connection between nutrition and behavior in dogs, which is something is so profound when you're bringing in rescues who've been on really starving for nutrition. So
Excellent.
So to carry on, I'm just going to do a slideshow here, folks. So the very beginning of my journey was, probably 13 years ago, when I was just beginning learning about nutrition. I just put my dogs onto raw diet, and I was in an agility class, and one of my teammates was asking me about it, and I was sharing with her, my journey so far with my dogs on the fresh diet. And she's, well, I'm going to try that on my dog. She says, I've got, this one dog, Kaz, who's really, really shy. And she says, she doesn't like to interact with anybody. She doesn't interact with other animals or people. She says when she goes for a walk, her face is down and she just tunnel vision along her walk. So she puts Kaz on a raw diet. 2 weeks later, we're in classes again. She says, taking Kaz for a walk and she's sniffing her surroundings. She is taking in the sights and she's starting to explore things. And she says, I can't believe that, how much of a difference. And I said, wow, that's amazing. I said, I know it's the food, but I don't know why. 2 more weeks go by and she comes to class and she goes, Kaz is now interacting with the family. She said the family that come over for visits, she says she used to hide behind the couch. Now she's coming out from behind the couch and greeting everybody at the door. She says it's such a profound difference. And she said, I'm going to be keeping my dogs on a fresh diet from now on because I know it's the diet. But and again, back then I was just learning. I didn't know why. So part of this journey here is explaining why Kaz went from a very shy, nervous dog to she competed in agility. She became that confident, right? So that is Kaz. And she lived 16 years. So she had a long, full life. So the diet connection with behavior, just, it makes me think of when my kids were little and I'd take them to a birthday party and they'd get all junked up on cake and candies and they'd come home and they'd be all wired up and screaming and chaos and having meltdowns. And it was all that sugary junk that really affected their behavior, right? So it's the same with animals. If you give your dog sugary junk food, it's going to wire them up. So, children, I'm gonna have to move I'm just gonna move your little icon here so I can read. There we are. Sorry. So
No
I can
problem.
read what's here. So children consuming unhealthy foods can become fatigued, irritable, and less focused. A similar phenomenon happens in dogs. Dietary choices significantly impact behavior and energy. For issues like ADHD in children, a healthier diet that avoids problematic foods has shown promise as a complementary treatment. So it's the same in animals. Animals can have kind of ADHD behaviors, right? But we, a lot of people don't think of it when you just say, you know what, it's like putting your dog on sugar. So nutritional intervention for behaviors, vitamins and key nutrients. Correcting the nutritional deficiency is often the key to improving behavior issues. Key nutrients are thiamine, which is your B vitamin, and B vitamins come from your meats, your proteins. Studies show that thiamine deficiency can lead to aggression in adolescents. With thiamine, when thiamine is supplemented, aggression tends to decrease. Good sources of thiamine for dogs would be pork, salmon, and green lip mussel. Tryptophan, which is your precursor to serotonin, and serotonin is your feel-good molecule. Research with sled dogs demonstrated that adding tryptophan didn't act as a sedative, but it did reduce aggression behaviors before exercise in sled dogs. Good sources of tryptophan would be goat milk, fish, turkey. Everybody knows about turkey. Eggs, pork, and beef. If you're looking at some of the grain-free diets on the market right now, some of those grain-free diets have a lot of grains, or not grains, legumes in them to increase their protein count. And they don't have really the natural tryptophans, thiamines, and different amino acids that the body requires, because the protein in legumes is not the same. So this leads me to my story of Bentley here that you see in this picture. He was a foster dog of mine probably 13, 14 years ago. And Bentley, I pulled him out of Winnipeg Animal Services, Lori. He was spinning in his enclosure so bad at the age of 4 months that the staff could not put weight on him because he just kept spinning and spinning and spinning. So we thought, well, he's better off in a home. So I bring him home, and he was spinning in my house, spinning and spinning. And I was like, okay, well, the dog, I put him onto a fresh diet. And that spinning reduced by about 75%, almost immediately.
Mhm.
And Bentley, I'll try and make this a short story. He did go to a new home, and I did recommend he go onto a fresh diet, and for the owner to spend some time with him, take some time off work. And Bentley didn't like crates, but that didn't happen. He went onto a kibble diet, and Bentley broke out of his crate while the owner was at work, and I got a phone call saying I had to go pick him up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I went and picked him up, and his behavior had drastically declined. And this new owner only had him for 2 weeks, but he had put him on a kibble diet. And so the rescue at the time I was working with said, you know what, we're going to keep him on a kibble diet. It's going to be hard to find him a home that's going to do fresh diet. And I said, well, okay. So we kept him on the kibble diet, and he got worse and worse and worse. And finally I said, that's it. He can't go up for adoption. His behavior is so bad. I've got to put him onto a fresh diet again. And of course, with a bit of a disagreement, but I put him onto a fresh diet. I got him back to where he was adoptable again. And I found him the perfect home. He ended up in a home with a retired cop who was a musician, who understood music therapy and how to work with, and he was already a raw feeder himself. So Bentley spent his entire life there, and Keith has only contacted me twice saying that Bentley had regressed, and the first time was within the first couple of months he had him. And I said, well, what did you change in his diet? And he said, well, I made him some homemade biscuits. And I said, well, what are the ingredients? And he goes, well, there was flour and applesauce and blah, blah, blah. And I says, it's the flour. I says, he might be sensitive to the gluten because certain things in that can cross the blood-brain barrier, and it can cause headaches and different problems in the brain. So he stopped the biscuits, and Bentley's behavior went back to normal again. So he lived a long life, but he had to maintain a diet of being freshly fed. So that was, again, early on in my education. And I didn't know why. I just knew that it made a difference. So natural vitamins versus synthetic vitamins. A lot of dog foods have to use synthetic vitamins to bring up their minerals and vitamin content to meet the APCO standards. So there's a whole bunch of synthetic vitamins added into the dog food. So natural vitamins they're extracted from natural sources such as plants, herbs, and animal products, whereas synthetic vitamins are manufactured in labs to mimic the structure of the natural vitamin amino acids and the antioxidants, but they differ in chemical bonding, impacting the absorption and the use in the body. The body just can't absorb it the same way. Like you're better off eating an orange to get your vitamin C rather than taking vitamin C tablets, right? So 3 reasons to choose natural vitamins is better absorption, right? The body absorbs it much more readily. They're free from contaminants, artificial preservatives. Natural vitamins have fewer additives. And also lower risk of side effects. For dogs with liver and kidney disease, synthetic vitamins pose a risk to their bodies which may not detoxify effectively, increasing the risk of vitamin overload. So I don't know if anybody remembers that there was a vitamin overload in dog food several years ago, vitamin D, and it killed a lot of dogs.
Wow.
So you can overload on certain vitamins that are especially synthetic ones, and it can be toxic to an animal. So the importance of the vitamin B complex in behavior. So vitamin B comes from your meat proteins. So vitamin B complex for mental health. It's essential for mental wellness, brain function, and energy. Dry dog food often loses significant portions of B vitamins after just 6 weeks in storage.
Wow.
Affecting dogs' access to its critical nutrients. So these studies showed that B1 decreases by 57%, B2 decreases by 32%, B12 decreases by 34%, and B6 decreases by 89% in canned food, impacting tryptophan absorption. Again, that tryptophan is your precursor to serotonin, which is your feel-good, amino acid. Makes you feel happy. So the role of minerals in behavior, particularly zinc and iron. Deficiencies in these minerals can disrupt the cerebellar function, leading to difficulties, altered emotions, responses, and impaired motor skills. So zinc and iron, particularly zinc, is very deficient in a lot of foods. There are certain breeds that require more zinc than other breeds. So your northern breeds, your huskies and malamutes, because their ancestral diet has been that of marine life. Seals and whales and, salmon and all that. And shellfish, all those are really good sources of omega-3 and your zinc. So those dogs' natural requirement are higher than the average dog. So when you're deficient in that, it does decrease your attention. It alters behavior and emotional responses. It disrupts behavior, and it impaired motor development as well in puppies. So processed dog food uses zinc iron oxides, which are very poorly utilized by the dog. The dogs tend to have poor hair growth and coat condition. So you know how some dogs have those calloused elbows?
Yes.
Yeah, well, they say there's a link to low zinc absorption
Yeah,
in those dogs.
it's almost like a little ball of roughness.
Yeah. So in 1993 and 1994, and again in 1998, there were 3 separate studies that were conducted. And 7 out of 33 brands of dry dog food labeled complete were insufficient in zinc.
Wow.
So your omega-3, and this is profound too, omega-3 and 6 ratios in behavior. So your omega-3, low omega-3 and high omega-6 levels are linked to aggression and behavior issues in both humans and dogs. EPA and DHA, which is your omega-3s, are essential for brain function. Conventionally raised chicken the omega-6 to 3 ratio is 30 to 1. Now, your omega-6 is your inflammatory fatty acid, causes inflammation. So when you're eating chicken that is conventionally raised, it's 30 to 1, 6 to 1. So that means the inflammation that that chicken is causing within the body is horrendous. Pasture-raised chicken that is grain-fed, their ratio of 6 to 3 is 8 to 1. An optimum ratio would be 2 to 1. So your body requires a 2 to 1 or 1 to 1 ratio of 6 to 3. So you think about dogs that are only ever fed chicken.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of omega-3. So I always recommend offsetting it by adding in more omega-3 fatty acids. And the one I prefer to use is my seal oil. And the seal oil, it's got one extra fatty molecule called DPA, and it's only found in seal oil and mother's breast milk. And what it does is it helps the body to absorb the benefits at a higher rate. And it's also been they've cleaned the oil and they've removed all the ocean's contaminants, and then it's third-party tested to show that the levels of mercury and toxic waste have been removed. So anyways, going back to this 2017 study, a 1 in 4 complete dry food contains nearly 0 EPA and DHA. So that's your omega-3. 1 in 4 diets that were more complete were nearly 0.
Wow.
So dogs are not getting enough fatty acids. So no matter what you're feeding, I always recommend adding in more omega-3 fatty acid. In 2008, a study on 18 aggressive German Shepherd dogs showed lower omega-3 concentrations and higher omega-6 ratios. So they were associating the high levels of omega-6 in those dogs with their aggressive behaviors. Why raw diets work? Raw diets have no chemicals. There's no chemically preserved foods, and chemically preserved foods affect the gut flora, which is the healthy bacteria in your gut. There's no synthetic vitamins. It contains thousands of bioactive components. The fats are fresh and not rendered. They are meat-based proteins. So again, talking about some of the legumes and the peas that are in some of the pet foods, those legumes and peas have they're a source of protein, but dogs can't utilize that protein because they're carnivores. They can only utilize the protein from fat. So even though the dog food says it meets standards of protein levels, how much of that protein is coming from your legumes and your peas, right? So again, fresh diets have their natural minerals. They have natural hemoglobin in them, which is really important. Supports the gut biome and behavior through more biologically appropriate diet. So fresh food supports the natural gut health, just like for us as humans. If we eat a lot of processed foods, it's not so healthy for our gut. The microbiome can't survive. Raw feeding provides dogs with biologically appropriate diet that supports the gut health and behavior free from synthetic additives, because as Dr. Ian Billinghurst famously said, you can't improve on nature, right?
Yeah.
So the gut's biome role in behavior, happy guts, happy head. So balanced gut flora benefits, protects against pathogens. So the pathogens I'm talking about is your dog has IBS or IBD, and sometimes the vet will say, okay, there's some bad bacteria in the gut. You need to put your dog on some medications to kill that bacteria. But if your dog already has really healthy gut flora, it's like an army that can overtake that bad bacteria. So you want to have a strong army in that gut to fight off any pathogens. So also the gut flora helps to fight heart disease, cancer. It tells your brain that you're a good girl or a good boy. It improves mood, heart health, and immune function. And 90% of your serotonin is produced in the gut. Again, that serotonin is a feel-good molecule. Makes you feel good. It helps with mood improvement. It helps to, you to survive any depressions. And dogs can get depressed too, as you're very well aware, Lori, that dogs can get very, very depressed.
Mm-hmm.
Other factors that upset the biome would be stress, as same in humans. Stress can lead to all kinds of health issues, but it does in animals as well. So stress leads to IBD, IBS. Mental stress leads to dysbiosis, which dials down the gut function. So dogs who have been, in bad conditions, they've been through a lot of stress or living in a situation that is not ideal. And that can really affect their immune system. Inflammation, it disrupts gut environment and nutritional absorption. So when the gut lining becomes inflamed with toxins and stuff, that inflammation can cause a problem with the gut absorbing the nutrients that you're feeding it because it's so thick with inflammation. Toxins also increase inflammation, decreases production of the happy head chemical. So toxins will build up in the lining of the gut, and it will cause like what we call a biofilm in that gut. So causes of dysbiosis and behavior impacts. Problems arise when there is an unbalance of healthy bacteria. This is called dysbiosis. So dysbiosis is when there is more bad bacteria overtaking the good bacteria. So dysbiosis imbalances in the gut flora can lead to negatives such as behavior, yeast overgrowth, itchy skin, and irritability. So, the itchy, the yeasty ears, the itchy skin, hot spots, all that stems from dysbiosis of the gut. Studies in 2019 comparing the fecal biome of 31 dogs rescued from a dog fighting ring, 21 of whom were showing problem behaviors. Analysis revealed association between gut biome and aggression.
Wow.
Yeah. So in 1990 and 96, these are just some basic short studies. Processed pet food denatures proteins, disrupting the gut flora, disrupting the dysbiosis in cats. That was a study in 1990 and 96. So processed food means processing food is where it's extruded and heated to the point of everything that was put into that pot to be cooked, all the nutrients have been denatured.
Okay.
So in 2007, this is a children's study, high carb breakfast led to poor memory, frustration, and reduced focus in children, highlighting diet's role in behavior.
Yeah.
And I remember that too, because my kids were little then. And in 2007, butyrate is a short chain fatty acid which produced by certain gut flora. It has an amazing effect on mood and behavior, acting like an antidepressant.
Mm-hmm.
In 2016, dry-fed dogs showed less balanced gut flora compared to raw-fed dogs, impacting their overall well-being. 2016, and again in 18, raw-fed dogs produce more short-chain fatty acids like butyrate, supporting better gut health, mood, and behavior. GABA's role in behavior and the gut-brain connection. So GABA is the gamma aminobutyric acid. It's produced by the gut flora, and GABA is a major inhibitory transmitter of central nervous system. It helps to calm the brain. It reduces hyperactivity, ADD, anxiety, and depression. So it's really, really important. And again, it's produced by the gut's microbiome. Impact diet on the GABA production. Studies show that feeding the biologically appropriate raw food diet increase fecal GABA levels in dogs. So they would be testing the dog's fecal matter to see where those levels were at. And then processing of pet food denatures the proteins, contributing to dysbiosis and reducing the beneficial gut flora. And all this can lead to dysbiosis, lead to leaky gut. And you've heard of leaky gut, hey, Lori?
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm going to get into explaining what leaky gut is.
Yeah.
So leaky gut syndrome and behavior connection. Leaky gut occurs when the gaps in the intestinal lining allow toxins, undigested food particles, and pathogens to enter the bloodstream. So what happens, you've got your gut lining, and as toxins are going into the body, chemicals and different things like that, it causes inflammation in that gut lining, and the gut starts to stretch out. And as it's stretching, you've got little perforations that happen in that gut lining. So then the food that you're feeding leaks out of those perforations and into the body, and the body sees that protein as something invasive. And then you have an autoimmune response, like allergies, right?
Right.
So but it also impacts, it's an impact on behavior. So toxins and inflammation compound from the gut can reach the brain, impacting mood, energy levels, and behavior. Common behavior issues linked to leaky gut are irritability, anxiety, hyperactivity, and aggression. And this leads me to the story of Levi, the dog that you see here in this picture. And now Levi, he came to me as a client a few years back, and you can find the full story on Levi on my website in my blogs. And the story is written by his owner, and it's really quite heartwarming. But Levi came to me as he was a young silver lab with chronic ear infections and skin, and he was yeasty. And so I put him onto a fresh diet with detoxing the body and the yeast from his body. And as I'm doing the presentation to this lady, she says to me, she says, I didn't tell you this. She says, but we were considering putting Levi down. I said, well, why was that? She says, well, because he's very aggressive towards my son. And she said, and his aggression seems to be more in the evening than at night. And she says, all my son wants to do is play with Levi, and he wants to hug him, and Levi is just too aggressive. She said, I hired somebody to help me. She hired a dog behaviorist trainer, and he came to her home several times, worked with her, and nothing changed. And the guy said, he said, I can keep taking your money. He says, but nothing seems to be working. He said, however, Levi's got really bad ear infections. He says, I suggest you contact Donna. So that's how we made the connection. And so anyways, working with, changing his diet and his gut microbiome, 2 weeks into all of this, the lady messages me. She says, do you think that making these changes can change his behavior? And I was like, well, yeah, if he's feeling better, he's going to act better. She goes, well, I think he seems to be more tolerant of my son. I said, well, that's fantastic. A couple weeks goes by. She's messaging me. She says, I'm in tears. I said, oh my gosh, what's going on? She goes, Levi's playing with my son. Now she's sending me pictures of videos of the two of them hugging. And that picture was one of the pictures that she sent to me of Levi hugging her son. Now, her son, he's a young adult, but he's special needs. And all he wanted to do was love on this dog. And the dog was just so aggressive. Now that he was feeling better, look at the love.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It just was so, and it was so profound. That change in Levi that she wrote, she's a nurse, by the way, too. She wrote that story that's on my website about him. So if you're interested, go check it out. So anyways, prevention and support, diet is key. So I put Levi on a fresh diet. We detox the toxins from him, the yeast, and then we started to build up his gut microbiome through diet and supplements. So a fresh, balanced diet supports strong gut lining. It reduces the risk of leaky gut and related behavior issues. Incorporating prebiotics, probiotics, and essential nutrients can help prevent or reverse leaky gut. And that's what we did with Levi. We reversed his leaky gut because the ear infections went away too. All that cleaned up by just, treating the gut. So leaky gut syndrome and behavior connection, leaky gut leads to allergy, IBD, IBS, inflammation in the body like arthritis, autoimmune diseases, yeast infections, behavior issues, liver, kidney, pancreas, and gallbladder disorders, and sometimes even thyroid issues. So fresh diet improves the gut's integrity. So it strengthens it. Prebiotics, probiotics, and avoiding antibiotics. So prebiotics are like things like soluble fiber, like psyllium husk, potato fiber, mushrooms, which increase your beneficial short-chain fatty acids like butyrate, which is what makes you feel good, and supporting the gut health. Whole animal prey diets naturally include fibers like the hide, the hair, aiding digestion and gut balance. But most of the diets, the fresh diets on the market, they do not contain those parts of the animal. So it's important to add in your own prebiotics like and fibers like ground up greeny vegetables, spinach and kale and broccoli and Brussels sprouts and those kind of things. They act as a nice prebiotic. Medicinal mushrooms also act as a good prebiotic, but the mushrooms are even fresh mushrooms, but they have to be cooked because cooking or heating or hot water extraction like mine are, it helps to break down the protective barrier over the part that benefits the beta-glucans of the mushroom. So like one of these examples I have here is my lion's mane cognitive support, and that's got the lion's mane, tremella, and cordyceps in it, and it helps with brain function and actually repairing. It does some repairs as well. Anyway, so probiotics is what treat acute diarrhea, reduce harmful bacteria. So if you got a lot of good healthy bacteria, probiotics, it'll overcome the bad. Like think of what is that? The munchkin that used to gobble up.
Oh yeah, Pac-Man.
The Pac-Man, yeah, think of the Pac-Man. So the good probiotics act like the Pac-Man on the bad bacteria, and they improve the gut lining strength. They thrive only in a healthy gut environment, emphasizing the importance of a healthy gut lining. Antibiotics, even though they're very useful and you have to do what you have to do, they do reduce the healthy gut bacteria, causing lasting dysbiosis, leaky gut, and behavior issues. Minimize the use, focus on fresh foods and supplements to support healing. So there is a time and a place for antibiotics, absolutely.
Yeah.
But if you can minimize the amount you use and don't let's do antibiotics just in case.
It's the overuse. It's the overuse.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So no, I'm a huge supporter of antibiotics when they are needed as a last resort.
Yeah.
But just know that you need to follow up with some really good probiotics. And you can even do probiotics now. There are some probiotics like Adored Beast has got the Phytoflora. That one is antibiotic resistant. And part of the key is if you're doing antibiotics, say morning and night, you do the probiotic mid-afternoon so it has a chance to work itself in the gut.
Interesting.
Nutritionally starved dogs will be more reactive. I've seen that in any of the fosters I brought in that were nutritionally starved. When I bring them into my house and they I've got bones lying around my house in my yard, they go crazy because, or when I put food out, they go crazy. And I have to actually, when I bring in a foster, I have to feed them separately from my crew because they want to eat all their food and then they want to eat everybody else's. My last foster, it took about maybe a week, only took a week of feeding him a fresh diet where he wasn't trying to steal everybody else's and he was actually confident that he was going to get another meal. So, so this is summary of some key points. Nutrition and behavior. Good nutrition is essential for behavior stability. Key nutrients like thiamine, tryptophan, and omega-3 fatty acids influence calmness, focus, and mood. Natural versus synthetic vitamins offer better absorption, lower side effects, supporting physical and mental health. The gut-brain connection, the microbiome significantly impacts the nervous system and behavior. Healthy gut flora aids in producing neurotransmitters like the GABA, which comes from healthy bacteria, which calm and balance the behavior. A leaky gut affects behavior through increased inflammation and toxin circulation. Preventing it with fresh, balanced diet can improve physical and emotional well-being. So before anybody asks any questions, I forgot to mention at the very beginning, I am not a vet. I cannot answer any medical questions. I cannot prescribe or, diagnose. But I can answer questions on nutrition and how the body works on basic nutrition.
Well, thank you, Donna. This was amazing. If you want, you could stop sharing if you want, and then we could maybe see, you could at least see everybody.
Okay.
For those that don't have their cameras off, fair enough if you do.
Yeah.
That was a lot of information.
Yes.
Yeah, which I so appreciate. I took some notes here. Please raise your hand physically if you have questions, by all means, or you can raise in the Teams and I'll try to watch. But I wanted to, I wouldn't mind, just since nobody's got their hand up, I'll just mention a couple things here that we run into. Number one, of course, as a rescue, and I'm going to go on the notion that most people who are interested in our town halls usually are rescuing dogs, whether they're from laboratory or not. They're rescue dogs, which share similar symptoms such as anxiety, PTSD, depression, and have had some sort of trauma. We promote, of course, as a rescue, we don't tell our fosters what to do with food, etc. But we make suggestions, and based on our experience. So we do promote the raw dog food. So I just want to demystify some of the raw dog food things, because these are the comments that I hear. Sometimes fosters and adopters will go ahead and use raw dog food. Jan, I see your hand. But these are some of the things that come up. Number one, my vet said never to use raw. That comes up a lot. I would be foolish to go against any vet as someone who is just, the executive director of a rescue. So I basically share my experience. I share whatever resources I can share with them. And I usually say this line, that dry dog food is the lowest grade dog food you can use, whether it comes from a veterinary clinic or not. And I leave it at that. Number two, the expense. People will say I can't afford raw dog food. However, in my experience over 20 years of using raw dog food for my own dogs, I've found that the expense, first off, it's maybe equally as veterinary grade raw dog food that they charge, but also I don't have the vet bills that I find other people have. I just never have to go to the vet, really, ever. Exactly. Right? So that, And then it's just people are a little bit like, I'm not sure what to do with raw dog food because I think we've all had dogs growing up and we scooped up a cup of dry and it was easy and the whole bit. So there's kind of that nervousness that we're not going to do
Yep.
it the right way, right?
Yep.
So how do you speak to that when somebody's like, oh, this is kind of hard and I don't know what to do because I'm getting this information over here and you're telling me this? And what do you say to those people, Donna?
Baby steps. Do baby
Okay.
steps. If it's overwhelming for you, then just start by, you know what, Sunday, you're having eggs, make some eggs for your dog. That's fresh, right? Give your dog some fresh eggs. Give your dog some fresh sardines, right? You can start there. You can start by there's now in the stores, in the pet stores, there are some pre-cooked homemade diets that are balanced. Tom and Sawyer is one example, and it looks like a little stew, I guess. And they're all pre-made, but it's something different. It's a step going from dry process to a lightly cooked food that is balanced for your dog pre-packaged, right?
Okay.
Or you can get a recipe and do it yourself, but you need to follow a recipe because balancing a dog food, making it yourself, it's a little tricky.
And not to mix, Donna. I've been told never to mix. No dry dog food with raw dog food. Not to mix. Yeah.
Now, the reason I'm not, at least when I took my education and I was going through the studies, the reason I'm not to mix it is because when a dog consumes dry food, it's processed. And their stomach doesn't recognize it as real food, so the stomach acidity does not come on.
Gotcha. Okay.
But when your dog eats a raw food, which the stomach recognizes as real food, the stomach acidity comes on really high because in the wild, animals are eating all kinds of things, dead, dying, deceased, garbage, whatever. That acidity can kill those pathogens.
Yes. Yeah.
But when you mix the raw and the dry, well, what's the stomach going to do?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So you risk the chances of the acidity not coming on high enough to break down the bones and deal with any kind of bacteria. That's what I learned anyway.
That makes so much sense. Okay, sorry, Jan, will you have a question? By all means, go ahead. Thank you for joining.
You asked, yeah, thanks. You answered lots of it, but my thought is for Orion, being that he's stage 2 kidney failure, should, like, he's on the salmon kibble, would a salmon fish, be the idea? That's, like you said, there comes the cost, the $35 going to Costco to buy a big chunk of salmon, or is there something else that would be good for that kidney problem that is on the raw, fresh side?
Yeah, and I want to, and so Donna, I just want to, I'm sorry, I'm going to interject because Janice has the dog that we're talking about that I'm coming by to pick up some stuff. And so I was hoping to chat with you about this exact that Janice is asking, is that, and you had mentioned a brand that might be good for dogs with kidney along with, so we were just talking about that.
So a stage 2 kidney disease, you need to lower the phosphorus. And one of the ways you can lower the phosphorus is by adding in tripe. There is a company here in Canada called Red Dog Blue Cat. They do have a low phosphorus fresh diet, and the reason it's low phosphorus is because they've added in tripe. And that for the early stages of kidney disease is probably fine. I would, follow up with getting some testing done at the vet, just to make sure that it's, that the phosphorus levels are low enough, because we can lower them more. As the dog progresses through the stages of kidney disease, we have to keep lowering that phosphorus level. But in the early stages,
he's showing no signs right now. He had a really good vet visit. He'll go back in a couple months per the vet, and he's not showing any signs. That's thankfully. Awesome. Yeah.
Did he have a full blood panel so you could
see
what his levels were of phosphorus and all that?
Yeah, he had a full level, and he was showing no symptoms. And that's why, Janice, we were told that, just come back in a few months, see where, just to stay on top of it. And that's why, and I consulted Donna to say, okay, well, let's get this going so we can go back to the vet and go, okay, he's doing great. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's something you can try. And it would be easier because the hardest thing on kidneys is the dry dog food.
Right.
Right. So I would do that along with detoxing and supporting the organs. So I don't, I guess you don't know what his history was, eh?
We don't.
No,
well, we know what, this is the problem. We know one thing. He was in a laboratory for 8.5 years of his life. And of course, we are not privy to what goes on. So we don't have that ever, really.
Yeah. So supporting him with some, good nutrition, and I would do a little bit of a detox on him and support, the liver and the kidneys with some, milk thistle and things like that. That would make a huge difference.
And that's what we're doing, Jen. And that's what, right? Like we're getting those things for him.
The liver tonic.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm glad you'll be doing a follow-up in a few months. It'll give you an idea where he's at.
Well, exactly. And then, of course, we come back to you. We can kind of know where to go.
And then if we have to tweak or whatever, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
My past Beagle I had, he had stage 1, almost stage 2 kidney disease, and he got over it.
Nice.
We put him on mature consult from, was it Hills, I think, from the vet. And that's what he got every day for like 5 years. And his kidneys, and it never came up again that his numbers were high.
Oh, wow.
Amazing.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah. So Mike put in the chat, if someone wants to switch their dog from kibble to raw diet, what's the best way to do the switch?
It depends on the age of the dog. So when I brought in fosters, it's cold turkey. Every foster I've ever brought in, it's cold turkey. Generally, they're young though. I generally get in young fosters.
What's young, Donna? Just clarify what you
determine. Okay. 2 years, 3 years, 4 years kind of thing. Not geriatric seniors. No, seniors, even in humans, if we were to change our diet, it's a little harder on us because your digestive enzymes, as you become older, if you're not using them, they become dormant. So it's the same in dogs. Those digestive enzymes to break down certain things, if they're not being used for X number of years, they become dormant. So then for those dogs, I suggest a bit of a slower transition. And I also suggest adding in the Adored Beast Healthy Gut, which has got several digestive enzymes in it. And it helps to stimulate the dog's digestive enzymes. And I've yet to see a problem. I mean, I've always just gone cold turkey. I've never come across a problem, but just with senior dogs, I would be a little bit more careful. Or if your dog has there are certain dogs that have really sensitive stomachs. And then if your dog's got a sensitive stomach, I would support it again with some healthy gut, the gut soothe, maybe go from the kibble to a pre-cooked diet, and then go from a pre-cooked diet and start, incorporating, a little bit of raw at supper time or something, or breakfast, and just go from there and do it slowly. But young dogs, like the foster I just had in here a few months ago that was just nutritionally starved, he refused to eat the kibble. Refused. He went 3 days without eating, and he was skin and bone. And then he jumped into my dog's dish and started eating their raw. And I said, well, I guess I'm going to feed him raw. It's a good thing he was only 5 pounds. So, he was eating raw. I was feeding him enough for a dog 3 times his size. He was gobbling it up like no tomorrow. And his poops, when I got him, and this is the difference between kibble fed and raw fed. His poops were ginormous. For this little tiny dog, his poops were ginormous and they were smelly. And once I got him onto raw, within, I think, it took about a week and a half, his poops went down to really tiny, where they're much more easier for him to manage, and they didn't smell. So it didn't take long.
And you know what's interesting too, over the years of feeding raw, is my dogs don't drink water like regular
That's
people
true.
drink, because there's so much moisture in raw
Yep.
that they just don't, they're not always drinking to what would seem to be like hydrating that dry dog food, right? But in raw
Right.
food, there's natural moisture. So they don't drink as much, they don't go out as much. It's like a natural thing that just happens. But I do, Lori has a question here. I'm going to get to that in one sec. But since you mentioned the little dog eating so much food, what about dogs that surprisingly can't gain weight? Like I have a little crazy, my dog, in case you guys don't know, she was the first rescue from the Beagle Alliance, but she's a failed detection dog. So she has similar traits of PTSD and anxiety as a former research beagle, but she gets really skinny. Like I'll feed her, and she's on raw, and of course now she's on seal oil, but she's skinny and she's not overly exercised. We do our normal walk. Like, what do you do with dogs that their metabolism is so high like that and they're healthy otherwise?
I ask them what their trick is, because I'd like to have that metabolism.
Well, yeah, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, Dr. Cam and I talked about that recently, right? Because my border collie, she's 2, and she's Cam says she's the perfect weight, where somebody else would say she's skin and bones.
Yeah, yeah.
But she's a border collie that's 2. She's extremely active, and it's just, dogs like humans. I just met a 3-year-old Yorkie poodle who was extremely obese, and the owner says all he does is sleep, and yet his brother is skinny and all he is very active. So I mean, dogs are different like humans are.
I've just been feeding her more, and
Yeah.
in the winter I feed her more.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah. Whereas
fair,
I have
fair.
to eat less than my friend who is super skinny. She
Fair
eats
enough.
twice as much as me, and it is what it is.
So it's the same. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so Lori asks, what kind of digestive enzyme do you recommend for dogs?
I'm a big fan of Julianne Lee's Adored Beast Healthy Gut. It's got 14 strains of probiotics. It's got a prebiotic, and it's got several digestive enzymes in there, very high in digestive enzymes. And I think they've got the #1 on the market in North America. I don't know the rest of the place, but I know in North America, hers are the #1 probiotics. But that's what I would recommend as the Adored Beast.
Okay, and I think I just bought some of that for my dog that I'm picking up, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So that leads me, because nobody else has any questions. So let me just go to your information, Donna, let me ask, because we have people coming in to our town halls or who watch the recording after, who are from all over Canada and the United States. So number one, do you ship across North America?
When Canada Post is working, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's pretend that's not going on. But
right,
in a perfect world, yes.
Yeah,
you ship across North America.
I do ship, yeah.
Okay. And you're currently having a Black Friday sale right now. So
Yeah.
I put, just so everyone knows, I put in the chat Donna's website right now. And I was just on there. It's very easy to use. And there's a Black Friday sale going on. And I had a third question.
It starts on Friday.
Oh, it starts on Friday. Okay.
Just to give your viewers that are on right now an opportunity, November has been the cancer prevention month, and I've given all my subscribers a coupon code called Fight Cancer, and that gives you 15% off of seal oil and my medicinal mushroom blend and my goat kefir, which is a form of a prebiotic. And that sale ends at the end of the month, and the Black Friday sale ends on the 30th.
Okay, perfect. So basically you can kind of hone in on both of those.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Okay. And those local people, I do live in Winnipeg. I do have pickup at my place, or I do have a delivery service. I think it's $7.95, and it delivers anywhere in Winnipeg or St. Norbert or I think Oak Bank as well.
Okay.
Just like around the perimeter kind of thing.
Perfect. Okay. Okay. Oh, go ahead, Jen.
Would the seal oil be good for Orion's sketchy, itchy skin, allergies, or we don't really know what it is?
Yeah. One of the first things vets quite often will recommend is an omega-3 fatty acid for itchy skin. And that's the number one thing to go to at the very beginning is any omega-3 fatty acid. Add that in because it not only helps to hydrate the skin, but it helps to reduce the inflammation in the body, especially if your dog is on a chicken diet. The other thing I have that works with itchy skin is my medicinal mushroom skin blend. And the skin blend is a blend of tremella mushroom and tremella and reishi. And reishi helps to lower the histamine levels in the body, but the tremella, it boosts the collagen in the body. It hydrates the body from the inside out and moisturizes your skin. I put it in my tea every day, and I've noticed a difference in my skin and how hydrated I am. And I have some clients who have hairless terriers and hairless cats, and they usually have to put moisturizing creams on those animals to keep them moisturized. When they're on my skin blend, they don't have to use the moisturizer. Their bodies are just, their skin becomes really glowy. So those couple things will help to reduce itchy dogs. If it's not allergy related, if it's just dry itchy skin, it'll make a huge difference. The other thing you can do, especially in the winter, is add humidity in your house. Put a little vaporizer, a humidifier going. And yeah, I like to keep my house fairly moist in the winter. One of my dogs has got genetic collapse-trachea. So dryness in the air causes them to cough. So I keep my house fairly moist.
Right. So you wouldn't put a cream on the dog necessarily.
That's itchy? Well, is it a hot spot?
No, it's anywhere. Sometimes he just kind of bites his leg, like this, or uses his hind leg and he's scratching sort of the side above his thigh there. But
Okay.
nothing like, I just had him for a nail clipping yesterday, and I said he was itchy, and she checked his skin, and she just said, "Oh, he looks kind of a little bit almost flaky, dry skin kind of thing." But nothing is red. There's no spots that are getting raw.
The flakiness is a symptom of low zinc and low omega-3.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. So green lip mussels that I have on my website, they are a fantastic source of natural zinc. And it's also chondroitin and glucosamine, which supports the joints, right? So those are the couple things, and especially if it's a northern breed, they definitely need more.
Donna, I wanted to ask you something because this comes up sometimes too. Is chewing the feet sometimes that has come up with people, and I've been told that that's not necessarily, that's a nutritional thing, not what it appears to be.
It can be various things. It depends if it's the same foot all the time. Sometimes I'll ask if that dog's had an injury in the shoulders or in the hip.
Yep.
If they have a pinched nerve and their foot is tingling because there's a pinched nerve, they're going to chew on that.
Right.
So that's, that's one thing. Sometimes dogs will do it out of boredom. Sometimes dogs will do it out of, because it's a bad habit. Dogs have like ADHD sometimes, or they have like a behavior issue, and they just need to have that something to, and there could be that. And if it's their feet smell yeasty, you know how they get that nacho taco smell? If they're chewing on all their feet and they got that smell, then that is yeast coming out of the body.
Okay.
So
And
that's something else that can be addressed.
Okay. Okay. And how do you address the yeast again? Curious.
The yeast has to be dealt with. There's Dog Beast has a kit called Yeasty Beast kit.
Yep.
And Julianne Lee has put together that kit to slowly kill the yeast at a very slow rate, because you don't want to do too much. If you kill too much yeast at a fast rate, there's another die-off that happens from that, which will cause another issue.
Gotcha.
So you have to do it very slowly. Just throwing in a whole bunch of probiotics will cause the dog to become more itchy. Everybody, oh, my dog can't have probiotics because they can become more itchy. Well,
right.
It's because the die-off is too fast. So
right.
You have to go on it very slowly.
Okay.
Right? And there's some homeopathics as well that can help with that as well.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I just put in the code for Lori. She asked and it's just Fight Cancer. That's the correct code, right?
Perfect. Fight Cancer, all capitals, one word.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Does anyone, well, we're just past 8:30. So does anyone have any other questions? And of course, Donna, are you okay if I put your email address in there too, just in case?
Yep. Put my email if anybody has some questions later on. Absolutely.
So the website is there. And of course, here is Donna's email address. And of course, if by chance, you don't have those two things, you can always email us at the Beagle Alliance, and I'd be happy to share Donna's contact information, of course. And this recording will be up within the week, if not by Friday. So by all means, it's on our community news page, and all of our town halls stay on that page so people can go back. So yeah, thank you, Donna. That was amazing. I'm sure, you and I have spoken about doing a part 2 and a part 3 of different sort of nutritional things.
Different topics.
Different topics like the mushrooms and things that are really beneficial for the diet, which we will definitely do.
Diet, the brain.
Brain. And I mean, we do as an organization have a behaviorist, and we have resources for dogs that are high anxiety and have aggression. It doesn't happen often, but it happens. And it would be great to be able to marry that up with nutrition, to give them the best opportunity, obviously, to settle into their new homes and carry on. So thank you so much. And I look forward to doing further sessions, of course, because this is my favorite topic, is I just think so many things can be cured with the diet. There's so many possibilities there. So
Dr. Linus Pauling, remember the famous scientist?
Yes.
His thing was every disease can be linked to a deficiency of nutrients, vitamins and minerals.
Right. I believe that.
I believe that too. I believe that our planet has everything we need to sustain ourselves. We just need to find it and use it.
And stay away from the processing and chemicals. And I, of course, and you know what? I've been in the holistic world for 30 years, and I've seen some very magical things happen by just switching food, going holistic, and just being mindful of what your body is doing at all times. And of course, why wouldn't that apply to the animals as well? Of course. And when they're in the wild, I like to say to people, and let's face it, dogs have been domesticated for thousands of years. We have to accept that. But the closer you can stay to the way a canine would behave in the wild, and I say this about my horses as well, the better they seem to do. At least that's my experience. So, Well, thank you guys all for coming. And thank you, Donna, for being here with all of your knowledge. And of course, thank you for letting me share your email in case people have further questions. And of course, we'll be back in 2025 with hopefully, with Donna and with other town hall guests. And so I guess this is our last town hall before the holidays. So you guys have a very happy holiday and wonderful holiday with your furry friends and your other human families.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
we
I
will
even
see
wore
you.
my Beagle earrings today.
Yeah, oh,
My
that's right. You
Snoopy.
wore your Snoopy earring. Perfect. Anyway, thank you all so very much. We will see you in the new year.